Ankh and Ma'at family, I hope all is well with you on this, at least in New York City, this cold Sunday, February 14th, 2021. I hope that you are well. I know that clearly honored that you have chosen to join us on your Sunday, doing virtually anything else at this time. And so when we come together and gather, I must thank you, I must honor you for doing so. Welcome to Kemetic Ascension, brought to you by the Shrine of Ma'at. I'm so pleased that you are here. I would like to truly know that in this time when we are separated from each other, in this time when we are not able to be within 6 feet of each other, and clearly being within 6 feet in our small shrine would be difficult. What does that mean? It means that Kemetic Ascension for more than a year now has been entirely online. But being entirely online not only poses challenges, but also poses opportunities. I would argue to you that there are more people connected to the Shrine of Ma'at online and to Kemetic Ascension now than were connected prior to the pandemic. So let us know where you are. Let us know who you are. Let us know how long you have been connected to partaking in Kemetic Ascension. Please go ahead and chat. Let us know who you are, where you are, and how long you have been connected to Kemetic Ascension. As you look at folks in the room, you are going to see members of the Wenwet, members of the priesthood, the leadership, the spiritual leadership of the Shrine of Ma'at. Greet them. Often their name will say Abu or Abut. Greet them. And also you will see that there are so many members of the full initiated family of the Shrine of Ma'at. Those people who are full members of the Shrine of Ma'at. Some of them were the first 42 initiates of the Shrine of Ma'at, known as the Hessi. And then we also have those individuals who are part of our last initiatory class, and they were known as Ascension. So please greet the full members. Now we know that there are so many individuals who are part of the Shrine of Ma'at family. Folks who regularly tune into these services. And we also know there are those of you who are not initiated or members of the Wenwet, but are still part of our extended family. We are so pleased that you are here. But you should know, I know that some of you have over the years said that you wanted to be a full initiated member of the Shrine of Ma'at. And some of you have not submitted your application, have not prepared for the process. Well, you had better know the process begins in less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. We are not going to be accepting applications much longer. No, it doesn't start this week. It starts next Wednesday. So it's less than 2 weeks, right? So you had better know that with all of the work that we've done to put together this beautifully broad class of initiates that will be initiated in the Shrine of Ma'at, you had better know that the window has pretty much closed. And I know that in 3 weeks someone's going to say, how do I become a member? I've been here for 2 years. How do I do this? How do I do that? The window is closing. Anyway, that's an aside. Let us know where you are so that we know that our voices are reaching the distant shores that our family are located on. Please reach out to us. Let us know where you are on Facebook, on YouTube.
Okay, so we have Sinette Cheryl Lee.
And Sinette Cheryl Lee is a fully initiated member of the Shrine of Ma'at. Mm-hmm. She is always with us whenever we do anything. She is part of the close family. I will say that we miss seeing you in person, but certainly she is always there.
Sinette Anna Rodriguez.
Another member of the full member of the Shrine of Ma'at, member of the Hessi.
Sen Khalif Akbar.
Another member of the Hessi. Look like our full initiates are on the call today.
Yes, let's see. Sanette Fafanta.
Rakasashen.
Abuka.
A member of the Wenwet. One of our priests.
Abut Waseret.
More of the Wenwet.
Let's see, then we have Sen Richard Douglan, who's also given us some stars, so thank you very much for
Thank
that.
you so much, Brother Richard Douglan, who is on everything that we do.
We have Benita Sutton from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
That's a familiar name, someone who is regularly with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes.
Is that the furthest away so far? Winston, North Carolina?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida is further away. Okay, there we go. Tampa,
Seattle.
Florida.
Jamie Lockett.
Seattle, much further away. Now we're going to the other side of the country.
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Daytona Beach, Florida.
St. Louis.
Go ahead.
Then we have Indianapolis, Indiana.
Wow.
We have England, London, a ton.
Make sure you're saying the names. England, London, Atan.
Yeah, it's AD1. I don't know the person's full name.
Okay.
Tracy Davis from Dallas, Texas.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tracy Davis has been with us quite a bit.
Virgo Venom from Indianapolis, Indiana.
We've heard that name before too.
Dynamite Reacher from St. Louis.
Have we heard Dynamite Reacher before?
Yes.
Folks, make sure you're telling us how long you've been partaking in Kemetic Ascension
I believe
as well.
I've seen him on Sonnetter as well.
Okay.
Let's see. Jamie Lockett is from Seattle, Washington.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Fafanta is repping DNV.
Go ahead.
Ayaba Peace is in Moultrie, Georgia.
Mm.
Let's see, who else do we have on here? Demetria Bryant in Georgia, 3 years.
Wonderful. Hetep, Sanette.
Rausa is in the house.
Go ahead, a member of the Hem Senu. Always good to hear from you. Not far from here, from where we are sitting at this moment.
Let's see. Sanette Elaine Groves.
Right across the street. She is right over here. We miss seeing you.
A Boots is shot rep in Connecticut.
As usual, always repping Connecticut.
Ema Eason from Dover, Delaware. Kobin Taekwon from Flint, Michigan.
Wow.
Candace Solomon from Jax, Florida. Mars Goodman from Lower East Side, New York City.
We've heard that a few times now. Go ahead, Lower East Side, LES. We're not that far from you.
Deborah Kennedy from Cincinnati. And she
Wonderful.
said stars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Another person that's always with us. Deborah Kennedy is she in the new initiation class?
Yes, and she was a student.
She is, right? Yes, yes, yes. Welcome, welcome.
Let's see. Oh my goodness, trying to keep up. Thank you for the stars, Rich Dublin. Thank you for Fanta. Alan Mayo, thank you so much. Sashat Ma'at from Indianapolis.
Wow.
Mike Jones Jr. from Aurora, Colorado.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Alan Mayu is from Tacoma, Washington. Thank you for the stars.
Wonderful. Clearly London is the furthest away we've heard. But can you tell that we are reaching people all over the United States?
Yes, Robert James from London. So we have
Go ahead.
We have Jamaica, Miru Idealo.
Wonderful.
Outlaw Demigod from Long Beach, California.
Outlaw Demigod?
The Demigod. The Demigod. Nicholas Mike from Miami, Florida.
Wow.
Robert James from London, yes. So we have 2 London people. They need to get to know each other.
They may know each other already.
Let's see. Corey Green from Queens.
Go ahead.
Heruasar Ankh Amun Ra from Dallas, Texas. Victoria
Heru Asar Ankh Amin Ra. That's a powerful name.
Victorious Justice from Boston, Massachusetts.
Go ahead.
Twau for the stars, Robert James. Nyota Nayo is in the house from Long Island.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Let's see. Natasha and Fiddlesmith from Palm Beach, Florida. Palm Beach.
Can they hear you? Speak up a little bit, maybe?
Sure. Let's see. Thank you so much, Thema, for the stars. We have Marshall Raphael from Atlanta.
Wonderful. The ATL.
Yes, and I also want to give a shout out to those who gave us donations on Cash App. So, Twa'u Fad Hill, Sen Fad Hill, who gave us donations. Twa'u to Waseret, Abut Waseret. Twa'u to Sinette Cheryl, to Brother Camacho. Twa'u to all of you for your donations.
Is that Camacho Black from Camacho? Are you Camacho Black from LV, from Las Vegas?
We have Jason
Let us know.
from Richmond, VA. Deshaun Balker from Houston, Texas.
Folks from
With us for 2 years.
all over the country.
See, Ashanti from Detroit.
Wonderful.
Sarah Nasut from Hartford, Connecticut.
I think I've heard that name before.
Mm-hmm.
Not far from our priestess, Sashad.
Tiffany McLean from Long Island. Carlene Jr. from Hamilton, Canada.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Javon Greenway from Queens. Your hometown.
That's right. That's right.
True
I'm still
Rue.
repping Queens. Born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. The Q Borough Mad Thorough.
Oh, goodness. Oh, we're True Rue from Detroit, watching for a year.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Rosa wants to know when we are going to be able to be in person again.
You know, I think that we are really angled to try to do some things, perhaps in the summer. Definitely we'll do some things outside. But I would really love to say that we'll be able to perhaps be back inside closer towards the end of the year, I think. I think that the numbers are coming down. You know, I know our community is really concerned about the vaccine, and I get it. But clearly, the numbers of people who have been vaccinated so far have also meant that the numbers are coming down as well. I'm hoping we're going to be able to be in-house soon. Really, really.
Twa'u Tracy Ann for your stars.
Yes, yes, yes.
Keep the stars coming, people. It
Keep
helps
the
us
stars
keep the shrine
coming.
going.
And your donations are critically important to us. Let me say dua to all of you. I am once again honored that you have chosen to be here at Kemetic Ascension. We know that you are likely individuals who absolutely are holding aloft the memory of our African ancestors where you are. That's of critical importance. But so often it probably feels like you are doing this by yourself. Other people, I don't know, watching football, football's over, watching whatever else, completely ignorant, or at least pretending to be ignorant of the traditions of our African ancestors. Maybe there are even some of us who find ourselves ensconced in one of the Abrahamic traditions. Maybe they just went to church this morning to go sit in a building with these large images of a Tamhu Christ. Maybe that's what they're doing while you are there feeling alone. Well, we are here to say that you are not alone. The Kemetic Ascension family is here with you. The Shrine of Ma'at is here with you. Our African ancestors are here with you. We only need to hear their voices as they reach out and beckon to us from ages long gone. It is wonderful that you are here. And I must say that when we gather together, individuals who all hear the call, individuals who are like-minded, individuals who are absolutely connected to African tradition, something amazing happens. And so I salute you. I am honored that you are here.
Twa'u for the donation for Sinette Fafanta. We appreciate you.
And we also know that some of what you might be doing today, because let's not pretend that today is not one of those secular days. Secular days are not unimportant for us. We live in a secular world. Today would be what people call Valentine's Day. We're going to talk a bit about that as well today. And I know that there's so many other things that you can do. You might even be in a relationship where you're sitting in front of Kemetic Ascension and your significant other is saying, really? Really? This is what we gonna do on Valentine's Day? We're honored that you're here with us. We're honored that you're here with us. Try to get that spouse to sit down, because we are going to be talking about the most powerful force in the universe. We are going to be focused on that thing that has held us down for the last few hundred years, and in fact thousands of years. Black love, ain't it beautiful? We're going to be talking about that today. And so I truly hope that you are able to get your significant other to be here with you on this day that celebrates love. But we're going to talk about the days that we have created to celebrate Black love, and talk a bit about why we've done that. You should know that today is a very busy day for High Priestess Anika and myself. We actually, after this, run to do priesthood training, then we have a meeting, and then we also, tonight at 7 p.m., will be actually speaking for the Akoma Day community. We're going to talk more about what Akoma Day is, but it is very clearly the African-centered alternative to Valentine's Day. It is the way that we will celebrate Black love. And so tonight at 7 p.m., go to the Facebook page, Akoma Day Every Day, and you're going to see us talking about decolonizing your love. I'm very pleased that we've been invited to do that.
I want to give another shout out to Sister Tracy Walker for her donation. Thank you so much.
Dwa.
And also we have, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Kimain Jai Shalil from Akron, Ohio, who's in the house. Yes. Looking to see anyone else from outside of New York. We have so many. Yes, so that's who we have. Anka Ma'at Rhonda Brown. She says Anka Ma'at to the family.
Anka Ma'at.
Wonderful. And I think I got it.
So I really want to say that we are honored that you are here. Let's continue with Kemetic Ascension. And you should know that when we come together for Kemetic Ascension, there is one way that we must begin. We must begin with the ritual that marks our shrine. The ritual that was put into its current condition, in its current form, by our shrine elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata. Please give him some ankhs and myrrh, some life and love, because we know that his walk is our walk, as he is the individual who has been walking in the tradition of ancient Kemet longer than anyone else in the West. He is the one that brings us forward, the founder, one of the founders of the Jewels of Aten originally, and of course the Shrine of Ptah, where he is still the holder of the Shrine of Ptah. Technically, Anika and I were actually made priest by the Shrine of Ptah, and then given the charge to come forward with the Shrine of Ma'at. Baba gave us that charge. Baba Heru gave us that charge. And so that is why we are here. When we first said to Baba Heru that we were considering being priest, we did not know that that would mean being priest in our own shrine. That is not what was planned. But he said, it is time for you to take up the Ankh and create. What have you been talking to me about, Ma'at? Perhaps that is what your charge will be, beloved. We did not expect that was going to happen. But of course, it has been now more than 10 years, more than a decade that we've taken up this mantle given to us by our elder, Baba Heru. So we say dua to him. Please give him some love and light, some myrrh. Where he is not far from here. And I guess he's also due for another visit. February is always difficult for us, but we are definitely going to go see him. And perhaps we'll also take you along with us so that we can speak to him in person. So we are going to do...
a quick shout out.
Yes.
To our furthest member so far, Ramoji in Kenya. I see that he's Thank you for being with us, Twau.
Yes, I think that's the second or third time we've heard Kenya. Is this the same person from Kenya?
It's another person.
Wow, so we are reaching Kenya now, and that is amazing because I think at least for the last 2 or 3 sessions we've heard Kenya's in the house. You should know the Shrine Ma'at is preparing to do much, much more on the continent. I mean, we are going to be going there to meet with spiritual leaders next month. we are actually excited and a little daunted because the spiritual leader there in that community says he is anxious not just to meet us, but to view us. In other words, he's going to be looking at us with an eye to see if we are prepared to be spiritual leaders in that area of Ghana. And so we are excited and a little scared about that. So we intend to do much, much more on the continent. So it is wonderful that we are hearing members of our family on our motherland, on the mother continent, joining us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we are going to do what we call
The
opening of the way. No, we're going to do it the same way so far.
Okay.
For a little bit. Okay. So we are going to, you should know the Shrine of Ma'at does the opening of the way in two different ways. But we are going to do it in the way that we have been doing it. Okay, and we're going to merge into another manner. In just a few short weeks, we'll be doing that soon as well. So we'd like for you to stand in the position of adoration. Stand with your left foot striding a bit forward. And then you're also going to have your right hand and your left hand exposed outward. This is one of the ways that you are able to feel divine energy. And your left hand is going to be perhaps a little higher than your right hand and a little further forward than your right hand. This is called the position of adoration. The left side of you philosophically, symbolically designates that which gives, and the right hand is the one that receives. And so you are creating a divine circuit. Stand with us. Don't just look at us on the screen. Stand with us so we can create a divine circuit of powerful ancestral energy that will actually pervade the entire earth. Stand with us in this position and do the opening of the way so that we are able to shake the ground with the sound of the Neteru. We are going to then take a deep breath and chant the word of divine life, Ankh.
Netrak in Bedhet.
Netrak in Bedhet.
Nuke in Bedhet.
Nuke in Bedhet. Netrak happy.
Netrak happy.
Nuke happy.
Nuke happy.
Twau and turn. Turn to the right.
Netrak Serket.
Netrak serket.
Nuke Serket.
Nuke serket. Netrak kebsenu.
Netrak Kepsenuf.
Nuke kebsenu.
Nuke Kepsenuf.
Twau and turn.
Netrak Ast.
Netrak ast.
Nuke Ast.
Nuke ast. Netrak amset.
Netrak Amset.
Nuke amset.
Nuke Amset.
Twau and turn.
Netrak Neat.
Netrak neat.
Nuke Neat.
Nuke neat. Netrak dwamutef.
Netrak Dwamutef.
Nuke dwamutef.
Nuke Dwamutef.
Twau and turn.
Netrak Newt.
Netrak newt.
Nuke Newt.
Nuke newt. Netrak geb.
Netrak Geb.
Nuke geb.
Nuke Geb.
Twau and turn. Netrak shu.
Netrak Shu.
Shu. Shu. Shu. Shu. Nuke shu.
Netrak Tefnut.
Netrak tefnut.
Tefnut.
Tefnut. Tefnut. Tefnut. Nuke tefnut. Twau and turn. Netrak paut interu. Nuke paut interu. Netrak and boo interu. Nuke and boot interu. Twau and turn. dwa, dwa to you, dwa to you. I'm hoping that you are doing the opening of the way, not just during Kemetic Ascension, but that you are doing the opening of the way so that you recognize just what you are made of. This divine ceremony actually allows us to connect with the stuff that we are imbued with. It reminds you that you are the universe, that you are the divine. And if you are reminded of just how powerful you are, all of those things that challenge you, all of those things that beset you, all of those things that seek to set you astray, actually will be surmounted by you. You cannot be turned around. You cannot be destroyed. You cannot be set aside. You cannot be confused. You cannot be absolutely set away from the purpose that your ancestors have decided you will live into, because you are a divine vessel. If you remember this, if you allow yourself to invoke divine energy, you will move through your day in power. And so we hope that you are doing the opening of the way before anything important. And definitely your day is of utmost importance. I truly hope that you are doing the opening of the way. So, at this part of our gathering of Kemetic Ascension, we usually go into what we call Hessi. What is Hessi, you might ask? Hessi is really invoking the divine in chanting or in harmony. You might think that gospel is something that comes from the Christian tradition. But in actuality, it is something that is much, much, much older. It is just the way that Africans recognize the divine. And so we actually see on the walls, in temples, in tombs, on papyri, our ancient Kemetic ancestors receiving divine energy. And we see them singing. We see them actually feeling the spirit. That is what we call Hessi. And so today, in honor of a period where we are completely focused on myrrh, on love, we clearly wanted to give you something a bit new. Now, what does it mean when we're doing something new? Sometimes it means that we're still working it out. But essentially, you should understand that one of the symbols of love, of harmony, of beauty, of music, the way that our African ancestors embodied that symbol is in that divine deity known as Het Heru. She is the one that the Greeks called Hathor, but recognize that her proper name is Het Heru. And so today we bring you a Hessi on Het Heru. And essentially, what we will be saying is, Anika, help us with this.
Nefer Henamer.
So we're going to be saying Het Heru, Nefer Henamer. What does that mean? It calls the name of this divine lady of beauty. The heavenly cow, she is sometimes called. Sometimes she has her secret name known as Mehert. You'll actually see we have a priestess by the name of Mehert. She is the embodiment of Het Heru. So you're going to hear us say Het Heru. Hena means, Het Heru Nefer, which means beauty or perfection. Hena Mer. Het Heru Nefer Hena Mer. Hena means with, you should know. And Mer is love. So it's Het Heru Nefer Hena Mer. And we're going to say that 4 times, and then we're going to go into a Kemetic riff. We're going to say Nefa Hena Mer, Nefa Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer. So it's a simple sound, a simple tune that will allow us to invoke Het Heru, to allow the Het Heru inside of us to bubble forward while also paying homage to this divine lady of beauty, of love, of harmony. And so, let's see if we can do this together. The first part, Het Heru Hena Mer, we're going to do 4 times. Het Heru Nefer Hena Mer. That's going to go 4 times. And then after the 4th time, we're going to do just that Nefer Hena Mer part, which goes Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer. And then we'll go back to Het Heru Nefer Hena Mer. I hope you're with us, right? I hope you're with us. And I hope that while you are focusing on the love that you have for your significant other, perhaps even the love you have for your community, the love you have for your ancestors, the love you have for your parents who brought you into the world, you will have this divine Hessi on your tongue. I truly hope that you will. So, let's begin. I have no idea what tune is going to come out of this, but I'm picking up the old Nubian drum. I love this drum. It's a drum that was used in a Nubian village. I saw it and I thought it was beautiful, and the person that was with us said, "Oh, do you want it?" I'm gonna take the drum from one of the folks that's in the village, and he said, "This is Nubia. They make drums like you make noise." I was like, "Oh, is that an insult?" Anyway, just know that I got the drum. This is an old Nubian drum from a Nubian village in southern Kemet. And you can even see, perhaps appropriately, as we talk about Het Heru, that they tried to draw a lotus that you could see from the front. I think it's very beautiful and appropriate as we talk about Het Heru. Let's go. Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer. I told you we were just trying it out. Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, 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 Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, 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 Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, 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 Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena Mer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena Mer, Het Heru, 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 Nefer Hena Mer. Henamer, Het Heru, Nefer Henamer, Het Heru, Nefer Henamer, Het Heru, Nefer Henamer, Nefer Henamer, Nefer Henamer, Nefer Hena, Nefer Hena, Nefer Henamer. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that you enjoyed that. That was cooked up by High Priestess Anika and myself for your period focusing on love. And I know that someone here is going to say, can we hear that again? You know this is on YouTube and Facebook, right? I'm so glad that you feel that you are with us live. You are with us live. But you could always go back and listen to this so that you are able to have this divine tune on your tongue when you are trying to bring forth all of the sweetness. All of the sweetness that we will be able to once again see during this wonderful period. And so I really hope that you are going to use this as you focus on this. So,
Twa'u to Ikerte for your stars, and Anke Ma'at to Sanet Oye, who is in the house.
Sanet Oye out of Philly, good to see you. Good to know that you are out there. A member of Rakas Hashem, a full initiated member of the Shrine of Ma'at.
Anke Ma'at to Sanet Tashi Smart, and Anke Ma'at to Kathy Princess Tyson.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are so pleased that you have chosen to be with us today. That you actually have decided that you are going to join together on a day that celebrates love, even though you probably aren't doing it today. If you are, no shade, no shade. But recognize that we must wrest away from this society that seeks to decide when we should celebrate the greatness of our family, the greatness of our loved ones, and thereby control us. So we're going to talk about this today. To talk about Black love. We're going to look at it from an ancient perspective and also look at exactly what the challenges of Black love have been in this context, based on the things that have happened to us, based on the, did I just break this thing? Oh, there we go. Based on the way we have been dealing with, okay. Yeah, looks like I did and messed everything up. That's the computer. Based on the way, come on now, based on the way that we have been dealing with this Western society today. And so I truly hope that you are with us. I truly hope that you will, with us, celebrate this magnificent day. It looks like I closed it by mistake. Bear with me for one moment, folks, as we pull it up again and prepare.
Rausa says that her great-granddaughter murdered the drum while we were singing.
That is beautiful. And can I say here? Because if you haven't noticed, when Bari tries to play the drum and do the Hessi at the same time, almost like me trying at the same time. It don't work that way. So we are doing what we can to recognize the divine energy through Hessi. But I really, really am longing for the time that we are together again. And our Hessi masters are here. We cooked up that Hessi, and I think that it is a magnificent one that we can definitely use. I'm truly hoping that you will use it. I'm so honored. Granddaughter loved it. Remember, it is great-granddaughter. You know, Rahusa is an elder. She don't look like she really that much of an elder, but she really don't. You know,
she don't move like what either.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. So We are so honored to have her with us. Let's talk about, as we talk about the word from the Sebayit, the word from the wisdom literature that comes to us from our ancient Kemetic ancestors, let's talk about love in ancient Kemet. I love this image here that reminds us of the fact that our Kemetic ancestors were focused on love. And that in many ways, love drove them. Love set. Have to begin in many ways where we're at. So many of us are in Western society, and even if we aren't living in a Western nation, we know that you are still affected by Western thought, because it has become pervasive in the world. So let's begin with what has happened to us. What are the challenges of black love? Why is black love revolutionary? That's really what we're saying. For so many people from other communities who have not had to actually deal with trying to wash the stain of enslavement from us, for them it's just, hey, it's just love. But for us, black love is revolutionary. I want you to take a look at this image of this brother here. He is named Henry Box Brown. How many of you are familiar with Henry Box Brown? How many of you are aware of the fact or understand why this man is sitting in a box and we see 4 individuals, 3 Tomhu and 1 person of African descent, greeting him in this box? How many of you are aware of this story? Henry Box Brown has a very, very interesting story. A very interesting story. It is a story of victory. It is a story of endurance. It is a story of standing up to inequity, of fighting against the enslavement of the African. But it's also a story that occurs in pain when we look at the love in his life. Right off the bat, you should know that Henry Brown got the name Henry Box Brown because, dealing with the horrors of enslavement, he decided that he needed to escape it. And so he had someone in Richmond, Virginia, where he was, build him a wooden crate. And his plan was to be in the wooden crate. And from the slave-holding state of Virginia to the state which had actually abolished enslavement, Pennsylvania. So he went from Virginia to Pennsylvania in a box. By the way, they had painted this end up on the box. But of course, what did they do as soon as they picked it up? He spent most of the trip on his head. They just turned it upside down. And all he had was a little bit of bread, and he says a bottle to relieve himself. Imagine what that's like. So many of us complain about the space between the seats on a plane. We complain about the fact that in urban areas you have to actually sit in your car in traffic. We complain about being actually forced in public transportation conveyances like the train. I know that very often in New York City, you will stand in a train so close that these people who you do not know are as close to you as your significant other when you are laying in your... It is uncomfortable. But just think how we complain about that, and then think about Henry Box Brown choosing to be in a much more uncomfortable position so he could escape enslavement. Well, what was his story? Why did he decide that he should actually put himself through such a difficult mode of transportation? What had happened to him? What was his journey? What was his life? when we look at the horrors of enslavement that he had to deal with, I want you to recognize we are also dealing with a story of how this fetid Western society destroyed his relationship with his wife and their children. Listen to him describe what it was like to be enslaved and to have your family during this period. This comes from his book, The Life of Henry Brown. It says, the relation of husband and wife and child only exists by the toleration of their master, who may insult the slave's wife or violate her person at any moment. And there is no law to punish him for what he has done. It is a horrible idea, but it is no less true that no slave husband has any certainty whatever of being able to retain his wife a single hour. Neither has any wife any more certainty of her husband. Their fondest affection may be utterly disregarded, and their devoted attachment cruelly ignored at any moment a brutal slave holder may think fit. Henry Box Brown is describing the fact that during enslavement, for the hundreds of years that Africans experienced this brutality, our relationships were the greatest thing that these evil, wicked enslavers could use against us. Notice that he speaks about brutality, and certainly some of the most inhumane brutality was visited on persons who were enslaved. But the worst possible thing that could occur is rendering the relationships of family, rendering them to nothing. And so he speaks of this reality. He continues, my wife was still the property of Mr. Lay. And from the apparently sincerity of his promises to us, we felt confident that he would not separate us. We had not, however, been married above 12 months when his contentious scruples vanished, and he sold my wife to a Mr. H. Colquitt, a saddler, living in the city of Richmond. We're talking about Richmond, Virginia, and a member of Dr. Plummer's church there. This Mr. Colquitt was an exceedingly cruel man, and he had a wife who was, if possible, still more cruel. She was very contrary and hard to be pleased. She abused my wife very much, not because she did not do her duty, but because, it was said, her manners were too refined for a slave. At this time, my wife had a child, and this vexed Mrs. Colquitt very much. She could not bear to see her nursing her baby, and used to wish some great calamity to happen to my wife. This is the reality. This is the context that we have to experience as Africans dealing with the pain of love in a place that seeks to destroy it. This is the context. And you might easily say, well, Jabari, this is a long time ago. First of all, it ain't that long ago. Second of all, what sort of problems, emotional and psychological and social and even spiritual problems, does this create when a husband and a wife know that their love could easily be destroyed? How do you think you would behave if you recognize right now your significant other might disappear at any time? How do you think it would affect your relationship on a daily basis? Would you try to harden your heart so that you could be prepared for such a horrific instance? How would it feel to know that you have no control over the relationship? There are so many things that make relationships difficult even today, even in 2021. But how would you feel if you didn't even have that control? That all of the challenges that relationships face, and I know that any who have been in relationships know what I'm talking about. If any of the challenges that we face in 2021 were absolutely dwarfed by the fact that some other human could decide that your relationship is null and void. Or even worse, decide that they would do something harmful to your significant other and that you could do nothing about it. And I don't want to make this seem like this is just about white, about Tom men. Do you hear? Henry Box Brown is talking about the brutality of his wife. And that she looked at the scene and said, "Who the hell do you think you are? You are my property." Simply because of the way that she carried herself with dignity and respect. Simply because she sought to give sustenance to her child. That's the world that we live in. And I know that this is, how does this live in our relationships just a few decades later? Well, you should know that Henry Brown later described that he was lent out to another man to do work, and he told the enslaver, Mr. Colquitt, that he would purchase his wife and children to make them free. And Colquitt agreed to it, but as soon as Box Brown had actually gone off to do the work, he got word that Colquitt had sold his wife and sold his children to a more challenging environment.
There's one comment I want to address. It says,
yes.
Are we not at least participants in this agreement for the most part subconsciously? Human consciousness has a choice of victimization, whether we are aware of this reality or not. That's from Gaia University.
I honestly will say to you that we are divine vessels and that we control so much in our environment. But you have to also recognize, just as you have come to consciousness, if you lived with this condition for all of life, in fact, everyone like you has lived in this condition. And whenever you evince your divinity, evince your royalty, just like Sister Brown was doing, someone could actually damage you. Part of what was happening here is that the enslaver was seeking to destroy psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and culturally. Now I'm going to say to you that we were not destroyed. We ended up destroying the system that did this to us. But that, I don't want you to misunderstand that along the way there were bodies that gave themselves to that battle. That there were relationships that were destroyed in that battle. That there were lives that were taken. That there were children who were wrested away from their parents' bosom. That there were men turned from wives and wives turned from men. So we have to recognize, we can't blame Henry Box Brown and his wife for whatever. He is more powerful than the enslaver. That's why he actually escaped this condition. But battle, that does not mean that you will not bear the scars of war. That's how I want us to understand that. It's not that we were participants in our destruction. It's that we continued to fight this destruction, and eventually we defeated those people who sought to destroy us. That is how we do it. In fact, I want you to understand that the reason why Box Brown is telling this story is because he wants people to understand the brutality of enslavement. Because his book, all the world to speak about what happened to him, is the ways that he sought to destroy the system. Box Brown and his story helped destroy this system so we could sit here on the internet and talk about whether we should blame ourselves for it. So what ends up happening after this? Henry Brown hears that his wife is being sold, and he runs to the area that they are. And the rest of the enslaved, feeling his pain and agony, tell him that the only thing he can do is stand by the side of the road, because all of the enslaved that are being sold further down into more brutal climes will be passing along that side. And when he gets this horrible cry, and that is his children. I believe he had 3 children, and his wife was even pregnant at this time. And so they cry for him. And he goes to the side and grabs. He can do nothing more. He sees his wife and he holds her hand, and he says that neither he nor she could even bear to say anything. They just looked at each other and cried. This is what happened to us. How does this continue to live in our relationships today? Understand that this is what Henry Brown was escaping from. And he escapes to the north and then goes all over the world talking about the horror of enslavement. Talking about how he escaped it and how it was for him. I don't believe that he was ever, well, I know that he was never rejoined with his wife again. That he never saw those children again. He does eventually remarry. But think about what this must have been like. Just think about how the way that you is affected by the way that your parents viewed the world and the way that they operated in the world. And then by extension, you have to recognize that their parents affected the way that they view the world. That affect the way that you view the world. That in fact, you draw a line from your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and going. And if you really understood that story, you would understand how it affects you, both positively and negatively. How does this continue to live in our relationships? This is the question you have to ask yourself. We have to continue to fight against it. We have to continue to ensure that this is not something that will live in our, that will control the manner in which we raise our children and love our significant others. You know, I think sometimes about how, particularly when you're in a relationship at a very young age, often we hear that you have to remain ice cold. In fact, I remember even in a song by Outkast, when one of the members of the group is talking about how much he really likes this woman. In the background, you hear yelling, "Ice cold!" You know the song I'm talking about. Does the fact that we try to hold in our intimate relationships come from the fact that these relationships were under the control of people that were trying to destroy us? That we had to actually recognize that our relationships were under the control of someone that sought to destroy us. That someone that sought to control us. That someone that someone that could intervene and interfere with your most intimate relationships. Is that why we try sometimes to be ice cold? Is that why it's embarrassing to tell your friends that you have really, really been smitten by a woman? Is that why in some circles we have these misogynistic beliefs? Because we're trying to inoculate ourselves against the things that could happen. I know that that's not something that we find in the Kemetic tradition, but in many traditions we hear these misogynistic things that people still find themselves in. We have to do more and find ways to celebrate our traditions. Find to reconnect ourselves in divine myrrh. Well, I want to say to you that I'm so honored that we will be speaking today as part of the Coma Day celebrations. And look at this wonderful couple who are also in the Kemetic tradition. People that we've known for a long time. And they've been doing their work in the Kemetic tradition out in New Jersey, just as we've been doing our work here in Harlem. And you should know that they've come and they've spoke to our Kemetic Ascension family as well. And so what is the Akoma? The Akoma is the Akan symbol that looks like a heart. And it is the symbol of endurance. It is one of the Adinkra symbols. Just as you see the Jinyame, or the Sankofa, or Bi-Inkabi, or all of the other symbols that you might be familiar with, Akoma is the one that celebrates endurance, and it looks like the heart that sometimes we draw. And so this couple has actually put together this wonderful ceremony. And we always call them Mwasha. We've actually merged their names to the point where they're not even able to be in some ways distinguished by us. We just call him Mwasha, and we know that he's Mansho, right? but
and she's Nyasha.
And she's Nyasha, but they're just Mwasha to us, right? We've seen their journey. They're therapists. They have a wonderful family, and they've also, just as any relationship, they've dealt with the challenges of being in love and being a couple in this world. But I know that when you see them together, it is impossible not to see how much they love each other after all of these years. And so they created this celebration called Akoma Day, based on the virtues of flexibility, patience, faithfulness, endurance, fondness, goodwill, and forgiveness. Principles of unified purpose, unified labor, unified transformation, unified fruit, unified body, unified mind, and unified spirit. And I want you to recognize that this is one of the ways that we take back our love from those people who sought to destroy it. In some ways, when we actually celebrate things that this Western society celebrates, in some ways what we're doing is we're still allowing other people to tell us when we do something. That's no shade for people who want to celebrate Valentine's Day. Please don't let Jabari come in your relationship and mess stuff up and get you in trouble. But I am saying that if you're going to celebrate Valentine's Day, you better come back and celebrate Akoma Day. Make it a whole period. And if you're trying your best to do things differently, go ahead and celebrate Akoma Day. You should know that black love cannot be sequestered to one day. And that's the reason why Akoma Day goes from the 14th to the 20th. It's a week of events. And Anika and I are honored to be asked to actually keynote the first night of Akoma Day, as we will today. So please, tonight at 7 p.m., join us. Go to the Facebook page that is Akoma Day Every Day. You can just go to facebook.com/Akoma Day Every Day, and you'll be able to see the celebration. In fact, you might as well go ahead and look for it now so that you can like the page and be part of that. We're talking about how to decolonize our love. So as we continue, I want to say, what is Kemet's primary narrative with regard to love? Clearly, we could say that one of the best examples comes in this couple. We see Ast on the left suckling their dear child Heru, and we see on the on the right, and on the left we see Asar. Asar, a magnificent leader who is killed, and then Ast has to continue his story by finding a way to take his divine seed, to give birth to their child, and to raise the heir that will assist her in reclaiming the name of the Father. And I think that in many ways, this story is about love. You can actually think of the Kemetic story as golden burials and magnificent monuments and incredible, incredible writing. But in actuality, it is all based on myrrh, on love. The work that you must do with your significant other to ensure that your relationship thrives. That is what we are focused on. And this story of Asta, Sar, and Heru is the primary myth, the primary story of ancient Kemet. In fact, you should even know that Asta's name was Mary, the beloved one. And as we see the primacy, the equality of women, we see the story of Asta, Sar, and Heru is really more about Asta than it is about Asar. We see that that also goes into the way that couples exist in ancient Kemet. Take a look at this magnificent statue of this wonderful couple. You can't look at them and not see Asta and Asar. Who are they? Someone tell me, who is this couple that we're looking at? I'd like to know. I'd like to know. Now, some of you might just say, Asar and Ast. Come on, we know that they are in the great myth, connecting themselves to that story, but I want to know who the living ancestors were. Let's see if you know, if you are doing your work. Recognize that our ancestors have given us wonderful guides in the way that they live their life. And as we do that, we should actually follow their story. The greatest work of every African is to honor our ancestors' works, complete their unfinished works, and create new works upon the paradigm, upon the example that they created, standing on their shoulders and doing things they do. Has anyone told? Oh, goodness, family. Come on now. Ain't you the people that's supposed to remember the deeds of our ancestors? Come on now. Okay, without scolding you, let me tell you, scolding you too much because I already did scold you. Talk about who this couple is. On the left, you are seeing the king, known as Amenhotep III. And on the right, you are seeing his queen, this great lady known as Queen T. And this statue is about, I'd say, 5 stories high. It sits in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. It is magnificent. It is magnificent. And I want you to notice that in most relationships, the queen in the relationship is usually shorter than the man in the relationship. In most relationships. But do you notice that when Amenhotep III is actually represented with his divine queen, that if you look at their eyes, you could draw a line across their eyes? This in art is known as isocephaly. It is a way in which the people depicted are trying to the fact that these people are equals. This is the way that Kemetic relationships occur. He's the king. He's the most powerful man in the land. He seeks to absolutely represent his wife as a powerful woman. In fact, her power does not take away from who he is. This is the standard by which our ancestors tell us how we must love, tell us how we must live, tell us how we must continue to create. That's the standard. And you should know that Amenhotep III was a powerful king coming from a powerful family, and his wife was not even a royal woman. But he loved her dearly and courted her. I've been known to buy some flowers for my wife. I bought her some flowers today. But this brother built his wife in the desert a one 1.5 mile long lake. A lake long enough that they created a boat that was called the Aten Shines that they would take out, a yacht on it. And he actually created these statues, these small statues, known as the Kepler statues, that described his courtship, described their marriage on the back, and he sent them to distant parts of the land as a way to tell people about how the king and queen got together to create the royal family. So Amenhotep III was clearly in love with Queen. And being in love with her, he wanted people to know how he felt about her and how important she was. And we know that she continues to be important. She actually, in some ways, is almost like a secretary. She goes to foreign lands to negotiate treaties. And when people convince her husband, or even later after Amenhotep III becomes an ancestor, convince her son to do things, sometimes they'll write a letter to the mother. Can you speak to your son? That is how powerful this great lady was. I'm not going to go through all of this now, but I want to talk about marriage, the institution in ancient Kemet. And here's another image that's from the same period. This great couple. This statue is beautiful. This is of Neb-Sen and Nebet-Ta. Neb-Sen and Nebet-Ta. And the statue, which is so interesting, doesn't come from their tomb. It comes from their son, who created it to remember his parents. And once again, you see isocephaly. By the way, look at their features. Can you not tell that we're looking at Africans? I hope that you understand that this is extremely African. I'd like for you to tell me, where is this statue as I talk to you about marriage institution. So what was marriage like in ancient Kemet? Kemetic women enjoyed relative equality, could hold property, could go to court, and could even get a divorce. Remarriage was also allowed, although it didn't happen very often. Infidelity was greatly frowned upon. We see in many stories encomiums against infidelity in relationships.
And it's written twice in the 42.
It's written twice in the 42. There's some people who disagree on what that means. I want you to really understand that it is our reading of the 42 that you should actually maintain your relationship with your significant other. So, royal marriages were important as well because the throne of Kemet was matrilineal. It flowed along the side of the woman. So either you had to be the son of the king and the right woman who had the royal bloodline, or you had to marry the woman who had the royal bloodline. You should also know that sometimes the king and the Sutbit had polygamy. Polygamy did actually occur, and it doesn't seem to occur for queens. So we're not saying that things were extremely and entirely egalitarian, but certainly much more egalitarian than we see in the rest of the ancient world at this time. Amenhotep III, by the way, actually receives 270 women from the Asian king Tushratta. And he had thousands of women in a harem. It is not believed that they were like his wife, that he would have intercourse with them, for example. They were temple ladies. They were throne ladies. They were ladies that would be in palaces. And that the idea was that they were part of the symbolic regeneration of the kingdom. The overall majority of marriages in Kemet, though, we have to recognize, were monogamous. And for the most part, one man was married to one woman. Now, I'm going to say to you, very often we see people in the Kemetic community, men in the Kemetic community, seek to take other partners. I'm going to tell you that at any time, I would say probably 99% of all relationships in Kemet, at any time, are just between one man and one woman. So as we try to mirror what happened for 1% of all people, why are we not looking at what the 99% of relationships were? that's of critical importance. And we should understand in the Kemetic narrative, procreation was very important. Now, of course, we also know that there was a field of medicine that was developed because of the importance of women, the importance of the female reproductive system, and because of the centrality of intercourse in relationships. So we see everything from early doctors. We even see early female doctors, Merit Ptah and Lady Peseshet. One of them was the chief of physicians, the other one was the chief of female physicians. We see entire books talking about the gynecological papyrus. Entire books that actually deal with the reproductive system in women. Even today, the white man is the standard of medicine in a place like the United States. And so we see that in ancient Kemet, that is not the standard, that the role of women, that reproduction among women was of critical importance. And we also see tools to assist in having offspring and intercourse, and also tools that allow individuals to have intercourse without having children. Did you know that some of the first prophylactic devices were also found in Kemet? Everything from pessaries, things that you could actually place into the vaginal passage, in sperm not to reach the egg, and so you could still have intercourse without having children. There was family planning in Kemet as well, which I think is very, very interesting. And other things that were used, intercourse and love were something that occurred very commonly among couples. They had lots of plants that were used to assist the process. Honey, wine, and mates were things that were seen to assist individuals to get into amorous moods. And I think that that is also beautiful. You should know that this system of reproduction was so advanced in Kemet that they even had pregnancy tests. So the woman could tell if she was pregnant. And I know that you might not be impressed by that today because pregnancy tests are very, very common. But do you know that the pregnancy test in Kemet also was able to decide the gender of the child? That's how advanced this is. That's how advanced this is. What they would do is they would take some of the urine of a woman who sought to see whether she was pregnant, and they would pour them on two different types of sprouts. On one of them, if the grass sprouted, they would say she's pregnant. And on the other, if the grass sprouted, they could say this is either a boy or a girl. And so this was a very advanced system.
And you had answers to the statue of Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuchadnezzar, where it was located, and the consensus of Brooklyn Museum.
Consensus. Okay. Good. You are correct. Maybe you are trying to actually defend yourself once more. You're actually trying to do good things after not knowing who that other couple was. I'll accept that. I will accept that answer, that this statue is actually in the Brooklyn Museum, and you should go and see it. Intercourse, love, and all of the relationships between men and women are hidden in Kemetic art. Did you know that? Did you know that? Take a look at this image where you see Het Heru giving. Now notice that her hand there is a left hand, and it's a left hand on a right arm, and that you're seeing the hand of the king in this instance being a right arm on a left hand. I'm sorry, a right hand on a left arm. This is giving and receiving, right? They are giving divine procreative energy. Notice that her hand is actually in this heavy beaded necklace known as the Menat. And so this is a sacred sexual image. Because the Menat looks the way that it does, it was also a symbol of the labia of the woman. This was not something that was uncomfortable to the Kemetic mind. They had no hang-ups around sex. They saw sex as a beautiful process that created all of us, and in fact created the entire world. The Kemetic narratives of the creation of the world, the deities engage in intercourse. And of course, how else would something come into existence were it not through divine intercourse? Do things come into existence without intercourse? Also means that these deities, all of them, are male, female, and offspring. And this is of importance. We don't have a symbol of the divine only being male. This patriarchal outlook on the world is something that the youngest planet, those people who are practitioners of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have foisted upon the world. But they are young. These ancient African traditions, even the ancient Chinese and the ancient Indian traditions, did not occur this way. Deities were not just male. Interesting. And look, even some of the images of the first deities in Kemet. The one on the left is often called the bird lady. The one on the right doesn't even really have a name, but they are symbols of divine femininity and the ability to create. That's what we're seeing. That is what we're seeing. They may even be the same lady. We don't really know. But they may be the same lady. Notice their round hips and their large buttocks. Clearly we're talking about the African woman and her ability to create. And notice their breasts are sagging. Their breasts are sagging because they have given birth and are nurturing. These are symbols that were considered beautiful in the community. When we actually look at how this symbolism occurs, one of the best ways to see sacred sexual is in some of the art that was actually constructed for Ankhemen and his queen, Ankh-Senamun. In fact, this box, this golden box, is really beautiful. And I'm going to say to you something that I think is really interesting. They actually brought the box to Manhattan. And it was here with the last time the Tut exhibit came to the United States. And I thought it was fascinating because while I was there giving a tour, they had told me that I could not speak in the exhibition room, which was at the Discovery Exposition Center in downtown Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan. And so I was here describing the images on the box, and I knew that the security was going to come and try to stop me. And I thought it was so interesting. I started describing things, and I was expecting security to get towards me. I kind of timed my statement. I was talking very quickly. I knew that they were coming. I saw them coming to me. And I began to talk, and I got to the end of what I was saying, and I realized, hey, wait, where did security go? They didn't get to me. And then I looked back, and what did I see? Security was like this. Because they did not know the symbolism that was encoded here. In fact, the supervisor saw security and was coming over as well. So now I'm even talking faster. And I realized, hey, wait, that person didn't get here either. Now they're both standing there with their mouths open. Well, let me tell you what had their mouths open. You can look at this image and see a beautiful image of Tutankhamen and Ankh-Senamun, his wife. Do you have this image, Anika?
Yeah.
And as you're looking at it, you simply see what could be a hunting scene. But I want you to know that this scene is not simply a hunting scene. It encodes divine, sacred, sexual symbolism. First off, you should know that something is unusual. Can you see actually the bow is taut because Tutankhamen is about to actually let go an arrow, but the bow is around his head. How can you possibly let go the string of the bow if it's around your head? In some ways, they are talking about the kind of hunting, the kind of procreation that occurs also psychologically. So right off the bat, you can see something interesting. And if he's killing birds, why is it that under his arm, you see the symbol of the arm, this triangular symbol, which is D? So if he's killing birds, why does that phrase, give life, occur?
Isn't it Cheryl's laughing and says, shoot the arrow?
That's right. That's right. You should know that the word for to shoot an arrow is seti. And it's also the word for ejaculation. So there is dual symbolism occurring here. That to me is absolutely amazing and beautiful. And look a little bit further. You'll also see here that you actually can tell that Ankh Senamun is sitting so daintily. She's giving him his bowls in which to shoot. And she's giving him those bowls at the same level of his henanen, at the same level of his groin. So this is also sacred sexuality. And notice that she's daintily pointing where he should shoot in the bush. I want you to understand that whenever you see aquatic scenes in ancient Kemetic imagery, you are probably also seeing reproductive scenes. And so this is sacred sexuality. And also to speak about his virility, you'll even notice that this lion is standing by the side of his stool, his hunting stool. Let me also ask you, what hand is she giving him the arrow with? What hand is she pointing with? The Kemetic Ascension audience should recognize this. So she might be giving him an arrow, but is she not receiving his seed? Do you notice that she's using her right arm and then she's pointing with her left hand? I want you to recognize that the symbolism here is absolutely amazing. Many of the scenes that you will see of this divine couple actually are sacred sexual scenes because they were working diligently to bear an heir. We've talked a little bit about Het Heru. Heru is the symbol of myrrh in many ways, the symbol of amorous times, the symbol of beauty, the symbol of music, the symbol of harmony, and she has many, many names and many epithets. She's known as the Lady of Many Names. She's known as the Lady of the Sycamore. She's known as the Golden Lady and even the Divine Cow. She is very, very ancient. It is likely that a form of her, an early form of her, is at the top of the palette of Narmer. And in this form, it is believed that her name at this time was Bat. Bat. B-A-T is usually how it is depicted. But recognize how old a deity she is. She is obviously sacred. Music is sacred to her. You will see her face in the Sesheta. Take a look at my Queen Sesheta. You'll actually see the face. I think I pressed that a bunch of times, huh? You'll see the face of Het Heru. Can you see her here? And this is the Sesheta, sometimes called the Sistrum. Sistrum is a Roman word. We call it Sesheta because it makes that sound. Sesheta. Right? So it's an onomatopoeic word. It is a word that sounds like it is. And you're seeing the image of Het Heru in this divine rattle. Symbol of divine procreation and harmony and music and creation. And in many ways, it is the precursor of the tambourine that you see very often in the Christian church. There's a reason why we love the tambourine. We have been playing a symbol similar to it for thousands, tens of thousands of years. So the Sesheta is sacred to her. The Menat is sacred to her. And you're seeing an image of her holding the Menat. She's a lady of beauty. Look at her face here on a mirror. By the way, the Kemetic name for mirror was Mirror. At least it's one of the names, which I think is beautiful. I believe the word mirror is a Kemetic word. At least we see it in Kemet before we see it in any other language, written in any other language. So you see an image of her with her cow horns on each side. This is gold and highly polished silver at the top. Beautiful.
There's a lot of jokes in the chat today.
A lot of jokes in the chat?
So it brings new meaning to shoot your shot.
That's right. That's right.
And it's funny because they're saying it on both Facebook and YouTube.
That's right. That's right. Clearly, Aung San Suu Kyi was saying to her husband, shoot your shot. Clearly. And look at this beautiful image. I love this image of my queen looking absolutely magnificent, standing next to a wonderful statue of Het Heru. This is a beautiful image. I have used it so many times. You have probably seen it a bunch of times because I think it's absolutely magnificent and wonderful. In fact, they look a little similar, to be honest. Other than the cow horns. The cow ears, they actually look very similar. She is the wife of Heru, you should know. In fact, in some ways, Het Heru means sort of like the house of Heru. Right? That's one of the translations for the name. So you can think that in some ways, he dwells within his wife. His wife is actually the place that he dwells. That is one of the ways that we should understand the relationship between husband and wife. So, I don't want to just get all symbolic with you. I want to end today on something that you may not be familiar with. Did you know that our Kemetic ancestors, look at this couple here looking very beautiful. Did you know that they actually made love songs and love poetry? Did you know that? Did you know that? If you're a regular participant in Kemetic Ascension, you might have actually heard me read one of them. I'm going to read a little bit today in closing so you can get a sense of what people were doing. These are not royal people. These are average people talking about love and talking about the challenges of love. I think it's actually beautiful. And as you read it, you're going to hear that some of the way that men and women interact was the same as it was thousands of years ago. This comes from what is generally called the Papyrus Chester Beatty I. Okay, it's unfortunate. Chester Beatty is not Kemetic. He didn't write it. I'm not even sure if he could translate it, but he's probably just the European who purchased it, which is unfortunate. But take a listen of this. Sometimes it's called Allah Cycle of 7 Stanzas. And it says this: beginning of the sayings of the great happiness, the one, the sister without peer, the most beautiful of all. She looks like the rising morning star at the start of a wonderful year. Shining bright, beautiful skin, lovely the look of her eyes, sweet the speech of her lips. She has not a word too much. Upright neck, shining breast, true hair of lapis lazuli, arms surpassing gold, fingers like lotus buds, heavy thighs and narrow waist. Her legs parade her beauty. With graceful step, she treads the ground. She captures my heart by her movements. She causes all men's necks to turn about to see her. Joy has he whom she embraces. He is like the first of men. When she steps outside, like the other one. Now, this is what she says about the man. This was the man talking about how wonderful she is. Take a listen. You want to read it? Come forward. Please, 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 beloved. This is the second part.
My brother torments my heart with his voice. He makes sickness take hold of me. He is neighbor to my mother's house, and I cannot go to him. Mother is right and charge him thus. Give up seeing her. It pains my heart to think of him. I am possessed by love of him. Truly he is a foolish one, but I resemble him. He knows not my wish to embrace him, or he would write to my mother. Brother, I am promised to you by the gold of women. Come to me that I see your beauty. Father, mother will rejoice. My people will hail you all together. They will hail you, O my brother.
Here's another piece that he has written. My heart devised to see her beauty while sitting down in her house. On the way, I met Mehi on his chariot. With him were his young men. I knew not how to avoid him. Should I stride on to pass him? But the river was the road. I knew no place for my feet. My heart, you are very foolish. Why accost Mehi? If I pass before him, I tell him my movements. Here I am yours, I say to him. Then he will shout my name and assign me to the first among his followers. It seems like he is actually, it's possible that he might actually be going to war, going to battle, becoming a soldier, and that he does not want to do that because he is in love. It is extremely beautiful. I want to make sure that I am going to... Here's another piece on from him and then from her, right? Mm-hmm. How about you just read the piece from well, no, let me read this really quickly. I praise the golden. I worship her majesty. I extol the Lady of Heaven. I give adoration to Het Heru. Laudations to my mistress. I called to her. She heard my plea. She sent my mistress to me. She came by herself to see me. Oh, great wonder that happened to me. I was joyful, exulting, elated when they say, see, she is here. As she came, the young men bowed out of great love for her. I make devotions to my goddess, that she grant me my sister as gift. 3 days now that I pray to her name. 5 days since she went from me. So he's talking about wanting to see her so badly, and that he is actually praying to Het Heru that she comes to him.
I passed before his house. I found his door ajar. My brother stood by his mother, and all his brothers with him. Love of him captures the heart of all who tread the path. Splendid youth who have no peer. Brother outstanding in virtues. He looked at me as I passed by, and I by myself rejoiced. How my heart exulted in gladness. My brother at your sight. If only the mother knew my heart, she would have understood by now. O golden, put it in her heart. Then will I hurry to my brother. I will kiss him before his companions. I would not weep before them. I would rejoice at their understanding, that you acknowledge me. I will make a feast for my goddess. My heart leaps to go, to let me see my brother tonight. O happiness in passing.
This is just so beautiful. I think we're going to leave the rest for you to read. This is so beautiful. It's talking about how much in love these two are. And that, unfortunately, circumstances make it difficult for them to actually meet. Did you know that your Kemetic ancestors wrote love poems and love songs? You just thought it was Motown, huh? Amazing that these are things that your ancestors were thinking about. And I love the line that when she passes, she makes men's necks turn about to see her. I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens. I remember not too long ago being here in Harlem. There was an incredible sister that walked by, and there was a bunch of Kemetic brothers, a bunch of Hebrew Israelite brothers, and a bunch of Muslim brothers talking during Sonetta. And when the sister walked by, not looking at anybody, everybody turned and said, "Who was that?" Right? And we turned back and continued talking. One brother was completely distracted. He was completely around. And I remember the older Muslim brother said, "Now, brother, there's nothing wrong with actually looking at the beauty that God created this sister in. One look is for the divine. The next look is on you. Stop it." So recognize that this is something that has been with us for thousands of years, this love that we have for each other. And I really want to say to you that we must wrest back our love. That in fact the relationships that we have are the nucleus of our resurrection. They will save us in this land that seeks to destroy us. We have to once more have these wonderful, beautiful relationships, even though they have been sullied in some ways by the history of us being here in the West. That actually our oppressors know that the most dangerous tool that they have is the destruction of our relationships. That's why I say our relationships are revolutionary. And then as we go into these relationships, let's look to our ancients. Let's look to their story. Let's look to their myth. Let's look at their standard. Let's look at their example as guide for us.
Look at the story of Fred Hampton. Let
us once more live according to our own terms. Anika is even mentioning the beautiful and difficult movie Judas and the Black Messiah that came out Friday. That's airing in theaters and on HBO Max, and we watched this wonderful story of Fred Hampton and the woman that would become his wife, and the way that they struggled actually after his death. In some ways, we are actually seeing the story of Ostasar and Herut in the modern day. I want you to take a look at it. And definitely what we should be doing is building strong relationships, building strong families, building strong communities. You can have all the hot revolutionary language you want, but revolution is love. Revolution is actually building strong relationships and building strong families. Please go forth in this period where we are celebrating love. And give love to your people. Give love to your significant others. Don't be so revolutionary or historical or passionate that you forget to just give myrrh to the people who have supported you around you. Give myrrh to your significant other during this period. And while I'd prefer that you celebrate the Coma Day period, let us at least recognize that any day that you celebrate the myrrh that you have for your significant other is an infertile day, is a beautiful day, is a perfect day. Please today, do these things for your significant other so that we can once more be the people that our ancestors expected us to be. The divine force in me reaches the divine force in you. Anika, can you come forward for our final affirmation?
Sure. First, I just want to say Twa'u to the other donors. We have Nicole, we have Tisha Monique Bunch, we have Demetra Bryant, we have Rhonda Brown, we have Dion Lives, we have M. Herbert, we have Sinette Abigail, and we have Onjay Bryant.
Oh,
to all of you for your donation.
Some of them full members of the shrine, some of them members of the extended family of the Shrine of Ma'at. We honor you, we thank you. As we always say, we don't do this for money, but we need money to do it.
Sure.
That's the phrase that was given to us by Abu Vernon.
And I see Kawanda Smith is online. Good to see you. She mentions that Akoma Day says that we're speaking at 3, but we're actually speaking at 7 today, not 3.
We need to clarify that really quickly.
Yes, but definitely we are scheduled to be on at 7, so I just want to clarify that for anyone. I don't know if there's anything that you're seeing on social media, but our session will begin at 7 p.m. tonight.
We need to clarify that immediately, because there may be some confusion.
Sure.
So
I know that they are running sessions from 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. So throughout the day, there are different speakers
Right.
at each hour. So we're going to be the one at 7 p.m.
Yes. So let us conclude and move forward.
Sure. So Twa'u, Twa'u, Twa'u for all those wonderful donations. Twa'u for all the stars. We really appreciate that for those of our family on Facebook. And Twa'u to those on YouTube for the great conversation. I know they were really having a lot of discussion in the chat room. Again, remember, last call for initiation. If you're interested, please get your applications in. We will be starting, I believe, on the 24th of February with our first session. And we have orientation this Wednesday for those who didn't make last week's orientation. And at that point, we will be closing the enrollment for this cycle. And we may not have another cycle for the rest of the year, so just keep that in mind. We are still accepting payments for those who are interested in traveling with us to Kemet this year. Remember, we will be there from August 1st to August 12th. If you're interested in being on the motherland with us, please join us. This year we'll be traveling a lot. We also plan to be in Ghana in the next few weeks. We will be in Ghana again in August. And we will be in Senegal, Spain, and Morocco in June.
We're leading the Majesty of the Moors tour in July.
Sorry, excuse me, July. July 1st.
And so it's
July.
going to be amazing how much we're traveling this year. We really hope that you will be on some of these journeys with us. And by the way, some of you were going to say, is it safe? We wouldn't be going if it wasn't safe.
Yes.
So we have definitely investigated that and recognized that it's safe. Hopefully you'll continue to be with us and do things with us as we are trying to reclaim the names of our ancestors.
We will also be in Vegas next Friday.
Yes.
So we will be doing what used to be called Kemet in the Desert and is now the Franklin Burley Experience. And we will be talking about several topics during that day. I will be talking about great African women in antiquity.
And I'll be actually doing what we call the Africana History Challenge. And so we'll be going through African history and seeing how much you actually know. So we will be in Vegas. We would love to set up something so we can meet those folks who are in our community on the West Coast as well.
Yeah, so a lot is happening.
Yes.
2021 is even busier than 2020, but we're keeping it moving and we're hoping to see so many of you at these different areas. I see South Africa is in the house today. We had a shout out from South Africa. So
Go ahead.
Kenya, South Africa, London, Canada. I mean, we're all over the world today. So welcome to all of you and it's good to see you. So we're going to close with our final prayer, which is the Amasu. Many of you are familiar with it, but for those of you who are new, we will say it in the ancient language of the Medu Neter, what misnomered hieroglyphics. It's the ancient language of our ancestors, and then we will repeat it in English, and we will do it in the pose of adoration. So please repeat after me. Amasu and Pante.
Amasu and Panter.
Sauksu and Ra and Pante.
Sauksu Mitra and Panter.
Autu Aura.
Autu Aura.
Maketi Paherura.
Maketi Paherura.
Give yourself to the One Most High. Keep yourself daily for the divine. And do it tomorrow just as you did it today. Twa'u and Ter. Thank you to the divine. And thank you to all of you.
We're so happy that you joined us for Kemetic Ascension. We will see you again in 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll see you so much this year as things begin to once again look a little bit more like normal. Please go forward and have an incredible day. Shema Matep. Go forth in peace.